Hey everybody, this is Chris, the Joel Palmer House Restaurant. First things first, if you bought a feast package or mushroom soup or risotto, I want to say thank you. You're helping, keeping us busy, keeping my staff working, getting us through this rough time. Because at this point, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to reopen until mid-January. So, this is your instructional video on the risotto. You're going to hate me on how hard this is. I mean easy. Well, you'll see. Basically, everything you need is in this package except for butter, water, and soy sauce. All the flavors and seasoning components are in there. So you get your pot going, make sure you've got one big enough to allow you some extra room, because the recipe calls for 4 cups, but you may need to add a little based upon how much heat your stove puts out. Because one thing the recipe doesn't include is me being with you for 20 minutes waiting for it to cook just right. Because I can't tell you how many portions of risotto I've either burnt or turned into mush when I first started making this 15 years ago. So literally, all you need to do is get your water boiling. You're gonna add your salt. Your tamari. And yes, the brand does matter. Try to get a good quality soy sauce, because it does make all the difference in the world. Or if you prefer gluten-free, go with tamari over the soy sauce. Now we're gonna pretend this is boiling. It's got the butter and the oil. Pour that in. Grab you your spoon. Don't forget, if you're using a non-stick pan, make sure you're using a wooden spoon or a plastic spatula so you don't scratch up your non-stick pan. And you're just gonna baby this until it's done. If you walk away, make sure you either kill the heat or come back soon, because it will go from just the right texture to burnt really fast, because it will want to stick to the bottom of the pan. Part of the reason why I like to use a non-stick pan. But then, if you've worked it long enough, you're basically just gonna gradually drop the heat. Full boil, cool, drop the heat a little bit. Starting to stick, starting to bubble up on the bottom as it's tearing away, drop the heat some more. You're gonna constantly do this. You're stirring, checking the corners for pieces that you missed, dropping the heat. Every single time you pull your spoon out, bang off any pieces of rice that might have stuck to it. I know it sounds silly, right? But now here you are, 20 minutes into making the risotto, and a little piece that was stuck on there gets in there, and now you're enjoying your risotto. Crunch. Now you bit down into one piece of rice that didn't get cooked thoroughly. So don't forget, every time your spoon comes out, knock off any excess pieces of rice. Otherwise, that's it. This video is going to be for the dry age New York. First things first, it is prime New York. We dry age it here at the restaurant for 55 days. And well, I'm just going to go ahead and get it started. First thing you got to remember is let it rest, okay? By the time you get it home, it will probably still be a little frozen. Defrost it in the refrigerator or under cold running water in the sink. Let's be safe about it. After it's fully defrosted, leave it out, up on the counter, away from pets and kids, and salt the heck out of it. And I mean a lot. I mean, you can see all the excess that's in the pan here, but don't be shy, because this is all just on the surface. Then, after you salted it, continue to let it rest for at least 20 minutes, up to about 40 minutes. After that's happened, it should be almost completely absorbed. At that point, if there's any pooling of water, just simply gently mop it up on both sides, because we do want this to be nice and dry before it goes into the pan. Now the other part is the pan. You want to make sure the pan is nice and hot before you put the steak in it. If you take any water and you don't see this, it's not hot enough, okay? On the other hand, you don't want your pan to be smoking. Now right now I'm using a well-loved Le Creuset pan, and it's well seasoned, but you don't want a pan that as it's sitting at high heat is like smoking, okay? And even if it is, dial it back down. This is a nice, cool, industrial strength range, but at home, I've got gas and it doesn't get nearly this hot. So you might have to crank it all the way up to max to get the pan hot enough. But you saw the steam demo, hopefully that'll do the trick. Next thing is, you don't want to grease or oil or butter your pan too much. You want enough canola oil, corn oil, something like that, on the steak so that it makes good contact with the pan. but not that it's going to be running all over the place either. You want to lightly oil all sides of it, even the ends, ahead of time. And this is after it's rested, after it's been on the salt. At that point, lay it down in your pan, listen for that sizzle, and then just gently press to make sure it's got contact with the pan. If there is moisture, it's going to expand into steam and cause an air pocket, and that's why you're not going to get a nice even sear on there. This is about the level of smoke you want to see as well. If it starts really really bursting on smoke, your fan's not running, well, not only are you going to set off your smoke alarm, like I tend to do a lot at home, sorry baby, but it's also just going to burn. So run that fan on high, open the back door. I know it's cold outside, but it's better than having the fire department show up because you're cooking a steak indoors in the middle of the wintertime. Now, the best piece of advice I ever got on cooking a steak actually came from Gordon Ramsay, which is once you've set it down, don't F with it, okay? You really want to make sure it's had time to come to contact, get that sear going. We're going to wait maybe about a minute, maybe give it a little tappy tap just to make sure that it's got contact. If you do give it a little press and you hear a sizzle sound, you're probably going to have a slightly uneven sear. But that's okay. We are dealing with a pretty delicious, awesome piece of meat here. By the time it gets over here to cut, it's probably going to be closer to the rare side. We don't want to make this a 20-minute long video, but the resting ahead of time, searing it on each side properly, and then the resting afterwards are all crucial, important steps. If you try to rush it, you're going to end up with something you're not going to enjoy as much. But now that it's been down for about a minute, I'm going to just check it quickly on the side that's down. And that's not bad, not what I'd consider ideal. You can see a couple spots here where it wasn't making excellent contact, but it's a good start. So I am going to go ahead and flip it. And we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Now the easy way to tell that my pan was just a little bit too hot, that I've got a little bit of blackened burn right here on the edge. Not a huge deal. If you see a lot of that, well, there's a problem. But if on the other hand you see mostly gray, then clearly your pan wasn't hot enough. If you think that it may not be making enough contact, or you might have under-oiled it a little bit, it's okay to add a little bit of oil to help get underneath there and transfer heat into the steak. What most people don't realize is that fat conducts heat. Kind of like metal conducts electricity, fat conducts heat. So by having enough layered on each side, it helps to ensure a good contact with the pan. All right, let's see how the other side's looking. About the same, but I'll take it. I'd rather undercook it a little and finish it in the oven than overcook it and ruin my meat. Now at this point, the sides are not going to be as flat as even, so applying a little pressure is okay. What we're doing here is we're creating a little bit of a sear. We're killing any kind of surface bacteria that might have, collected as it was resting beforehand. Now at this point, this is going to be a rare steak. So you've got two options. One, pull it off and eat it, or finish cooking it in one of two ways. Here on the pan or in the oven. At this point, what I'd recommend is if you are planning on having your steak at medium rare, medium, or higher, preheat your oven to about 450. Put it on high broil if you can. Get it piping hot, make sure it's preheated all the way, so that at this point, all you would need to do is take the whole pan and pop it in the oven. Okay? The other option, if you've got other things that you're prepping and working on, is to transfer it and cover it. Let that aluminum foil contain the heat, and it will continue to cook as it sits. All right, so we've given the steak some time to finish in the oven or the pan, and then we've covered it and let it rest for another 5 minutes. Let's see how well we did under pressure being in front of the camera. Not bad, I'll take it. That's about the medium rare I was looking for. So what I like to do with this steak, because of the intensity of flavor, is slice it really thin. That flavor is a result of the dry aging process that we do here. And a funny story, normally I like to keep a spray bottle of whiskey in the walk-in refrigerator so that I can just pop in every day or two and spray them down, providing a little flavor infusion, kill any surface bacteria. Well, over the break, I was thinking to myself, why not change it up a little bit and try some scotch? And so I'm filling up the bottle, which already had whiskey and salt and a couple other things in it. And after I was done dumping the bottle, I thought to myself, why does this bottle of Macallan feel different? Oh my God, it's the 15 year. 18 year? It's the $350 bottle, not the cheap one I was intending to use. So these are extra special, unintentionally extra special dry aged steak. Now, how much flavor does it actually impart? Yeah, it's totally debatable. I couldn't say that I detect it, but well, fun little story anyway. But do keep your slices thin because it is intensely flavored. And I would honestly recommend just eating these slices just the way they are. You could put a little pepper on them. Here at the restaurant, we make a chimichurri with Oregon white truffle oil and fresh herbs from the garden. Something with some acid to cut through the fat, a little lime juice, but lots of options. What I wouldn't do though is pair it with or sauce it with anything too intensely flavored, because that'll defeat the purpose of this nice dry aged steak. But there you have it. That's how you cook your steak, and I hope you enjoy.